This is an order for the military. If any day you wake up with the news that something has happened to Nicolás Maduro, go to the streets to make a revolution.
He also, as he was saying that and throwing attacks at Juan Guaidó as well as the U.S. government, the crowd was chanting, Ryan, lock him up, referring to Juan Guaidó. The question then becomes, is Juan Guaidó going to make his way back to Caracas? And if he does, what will happen to him?
We do have more breaking news right now in South America. Police and border guards from Venezuela today face-to-face with protesters, furious at the worsening situation there. The political upheaval, the lack of food and medicine, and the holdup of aid supplies stacked up on the borders, ready to help people inside Venezuela. At one point today, border troops fired tear gas to try and disperse the protesters who threw rocks and bottles. Inside Venezuela, similar scenes as angry protesters clash with riot police. All this happening as Venezuela's embattled president cut ties with Colombia, throwing out its diplomats. The candidates for president in the United States are certainly taking notice of this crisis. California Senator Kamala Harris spoke to reporters today in Iowa.
I don't believe at this point that military force is required, but there's no question that what has happened in Venezuela presents issues of human rights abuses and abuses of government, and there have been incredible violence. People are being jailed for political purposes, and so we need to take it very seriously.
And this today from Senator Bernie Sanders, quote, the people of Venezuela are enduring a serious humanitarian crisis. The Maduro government must put the needs of its people first, allow humanitarian aid into the country, and refrain from violence against protesters. CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh is on the Venezuela-Colombia border right now. CNN's Isa Soares is in Caracas. Nick, let's start with you. We saw you and your crew in the middle of complete chaos earlier today. Describe the situation for us now.
It's significantly calmer, but bizarrely, we still hear the regular firing of tear gas. You can hear it now down there on the other side of the bridge. That's because the protesters who've been trying to get across have, it seems, found more luck going under the bridge, across the river, trying to get to the Venezuelan territorial side proper. And there are still sort of intermittent clashes on the bridge down here, although strangely, a Venezuelan singer who fled the country named Nacho just caused pandemonium here when he got on top of a car and told everybody that they should rest and come at this another day. So we may be seeing things slowing here to some degree, but the chaos still persists, and that has been replicated in two other points along the border here during the day, to the extent where John Bolton, the U.S. National Security Advisor, and very much the loudest beater of the drum against Nicolás Maduro within the White House, has tweeted that it's quite clear today that the Maduro government, I'm paraphrasing here, treats its civilians, shoots them with live rounds, prevents humanitarian aid from being across the border using tear gas, and those who back Nicolás Maduro should be careful about who they choose to support. Going on in a further tweet to suggest there may be more sanctions and isolation in Venezuela as a result of what we've seen behind us here. Make no mistake, though, this was a moment which the opposition chose. Juan Guaidó, the self-declared president and interim leader of them, coming into Venezuela, rarely breaking a travel ban, to an aid concert tomorrow, part of the aid attempt deliveries today, and they were absolutely clear. They wanted that humanitarian aid to cross, regardless of what Venezuelan security forces would do, and they were under clear instructions to prevent that from occurring. We've seen these clashes today. They started when an aid convoy walked forwards, all in blue, met the line of riot police, a scuffle broke out, tear gas was fired, and then rocks thrown back and forth over the hours in the past. But now the net impulse has been for Maduro to break relations diplomatically with Colombia. We have to see what steps the U.S. practically takes in the days and hours ahead. Back to you.
All right, Nick, thank you for that. Let's now go into Venezuela in Caracas. That's where Isa is standing by. Far from the violence at the Colombian border, but you are at the heart of this crisis where the Venezuelan president is refusing to open the borders and today even made a military threat against the United States. Can you tell us what's happening there now?
Absolutely, Ryan. Well, we saw Juan Guaido's supporters take to the streets earlier today, making their way to army barracks, heeding the call of Juan Guaido. But a few hours later, we also heard from Nicolás Maduro, who spoke to a large crowd. And before he even started speaking, in fact, he danced, and he danced on stage while rubber bullets, while gas was being thrown, obviously, tear gas was thrown, where Nick Payton Walsh is and where so many other Venezuelans are to try to bring their aid in, just to try and contrast the image. And then he threw many attacks, not just at Juan Guaido, calling him a clown, saying he's a puppet of imperialism, of the US government. He then had this to say about whether, if he's threatened, this is what he's going to do. Take a listen, Ryan.
This is an order for the military. If any day you wake up with the news that something has happened to Nicolás Maduro, go to the streets to make a revolution.
He also, as he was saying that and throwing attacks at Juan Guaido as well as the US government, the crowd was chanting, Ryan, lock him up, referring to Juan Guaido. The question then becomes, is Juan Guaido going to make his way back to Caracas? And if he does, what will happen to him? In terms of rhetoric thrown at the United States, it's pretty much what we have heard throughout. Hashtag they've been using, hands off Venezuela, Yankees go home. And obviously what we have heard from Maduro, that he severed ties with Colombia. I've been in contact with the government of Ivan Duque of Colombia, and they've told me they don't recognize the legitimacy of Nicolás Maduro, and then therefore they have no ties to break. Now the question will remain, what other pressure is the international community, including US, will have to try to asphyxiate the government of Nicolás Maduro? Ryan?
All right, Issa Suarez in Venezuela right now. Nick Payton Walsh in Colombia on the border with Venezuela, both covering this growing crisis in those two countries. Thank you both. Please stay safe and your crews as well. We appreciate your excellent reporting.